Okay, so today we're going to talk about kind of visualizing. Visualizing means kind of imagining, kind of predicting our answers, multiplying fractions. Okay, so we're gonna look at like what happens when you multiply fractions. Some of us really struggled with when we multiply decimals, why our answer got smaller sometimes. So we're going to talk about that with fractions. So you don't need this page. We're going to copy down information and draw it in our notebook. So Mrs. Bennett is planting 2 flower beds. The first flower bed is 5 meters long and 6/5 meters wide. It's 5 by 6/5. So the second flower bed is 5 meters long and 5/6. So these are area problems. To determine how the areas of these 2 beds compare, is the value larger or smaller than 5? Draw a picture. So what do I notice? I notice, let me copy over my notebook so you can copy too. But then this one, so I notice they both have 5. So one of the sides is going to be 5 meters. That's the same. So one of them has 6/5. Oh. I was moving too quickly. One of them has 6/5 and one has 5/6. What do I know about this? I know that this is improper. I know that this is proper, this fraction. So this means it is larger than 1 whole. I know this is smaller than 1 whole. This one's larger than a whole, this one's smaller than a whole. Okay, so what happens? Maybe if I can make it so I can see all my notes here. So how do I draw a picture? So if this is a whole, this is a little bit more than 1 whole. So I have 1 whole that's split up into 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have 1 extra. So this is this part right here. 6/5 can be split up into 5/5 and another 1/5. So this is 6/5. So I have 1 and then I have an extra. Okay? This one is 5/6. If here's my whole and all of this is shaded in. All of this is shaded in because I have more than a whole. This one, if this is a whole, and I split this up into 6 pieces, I only have 5 of them. So I made something less, and this one is larger. So my question was, how do they compare? So this is larger. This one is smaller. So is one of these larger than 5, and one of these is less than 5? This is larger than a whole. What happens when I multiply 5 times more than 1? I'm going to get larger than 5. What happens when this is like a part? What happens if I take part of 5? I get smaller. I get smaller, less than 5. So when I have a part times a whole, I get smaller. When I have something larger than a whole, I get larger. So let's practice that some more. So I'm going to divide my paper into 3 columns. My first column, and we're going to practice with some fractions. The first one I'm labeling product is less than both factors. So I'll explain what all those words mean. after we write down an example. So my middle column, product is greater than both factors. Okay, and my last one, product is greater than one factor, but less than the other. All right, so product means answer to multiplication. That's all I'm talking about, the answer. Less means smaller, greater means bigger. What are factors? This is a factor, this is a factor. Factor just means the parts of the problem, the parts of the problem. Okay, so I'm going to give us 3 different fractions here, and we are going to look at which one goes into which column. Okay, so one of these, the product, the answer, is less than what either one started off as. So one of them, the product is less than we even started. One of these, the product or the answer, is greater than both factors. So we got a lot bigger. The third one, the product, is going to be in between these 2 fractions. So can we think about which one's going to go where? Okay, I want you to think on your own. Which one is it going to get, my answer is going to get smaller? Which one is my answer going to get larger than both? And which one is my answer going to fall in between the 2 sets of factors? So it's going to get not a lot smaller. So if you said this one is the product that is less than both factors, I know that both of these are smaller than one whole, so I'm taking part of a part. I'm getting small, a part of a part. So 6/7 times 5/10 is one where my answer is smaller than both of these to start with. So I'm taking a part of a part. I take half of my half of my half. What's half of a half? You're getting smaller each time. So I'm down to 2 of them. Which one do you think goes where? Okay, so one of these, the product, the answer is going to be bigger than either one started with. The other one, your product or your answer is going to go somewhere in between. Well, look, let's look at what we see. I have something larger than a whole, something smaller than a whole. These are both larger than a whole. The ones that are both larger than a whole are the one the product is going to get greater. I have both mixed numbers. They both end up getting larger, so my product is going to get much bigger. This one, I'm taking a part of something that's larger. So I'm going to end up with a product that's in between these. So let's look at if we can continue this same exact pattern. So I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's compare them to the ones we already have. So one of these, the product is less than we started with. I'm taking a part of a part. I'm getting smaller. One of these, the product is greater than both. So I'm getting a lot bigger. Bigger than what I started with. And one of these is kind of in the middle of the 2. I'm taking part of a whole, and then my answer is going to be in the middle of what these 2 fractions are worth. So if you said that this one goes over here, you are exactly right. I'm taking part of a part. I'm taking a small part of this half. I'm taking 3/8 of a half. So because if I had a half and I'm taking 3/8 of it, I'm only taking part of it. I'm getting smaller. Okay, so let's look at these two. Which one is which? One of these gets much bigger. The product is greater, larger than either part that I'm starting with. So if you said this one goes here, you were right. 4 1/20 times 2 1/2. Both of these are larger than wholes. They're mixed numbers. They both are going to make my answer, my product, get larger. This one, I have a mixed number, but then I have a part. So I'm taking part of something. So I'm going to write this over here. Let's look for patterns. Let's talk about 3 more. Okay, one of these, the product is going to be smaller than I started with. One of these, my product is going to get much larger than I started with. And the other product is going to be in between the fractions that I'm starting with. Or have I tried to trick you here? Let's look. 3/4 times 7/3. So these are fractions like these, but what do you notice about 7/3? 7/3 is an improper fraction. So 7/3, remember I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Circle groups of 3. So 7/3 is actually equal to 1 left over, 2 1/3. So where would this one go? I'm taking part of a whole number. This one would actually go over here because I have a part, 3/4, that's a part of something, that's not a whole yet, times 7/3, which is also equal to 2 1/3. What about this one? Even though this looks like it's a fraction, looks like it's a part because it's not a mixed number right here, it's improper. Remember, this equals 2 1/3. So if I have something larger than a whole times something larger than a whole, I'm going to get much larger. It's going to go right here. So my answer is going to be a lot larger. It's going to be greater than what I started with. What about this one? Okay, this one already matches that it's in this column. So that means my product is greater. It's going to be bigger. I'm getting bigger. All right, let's do three more. Here we go. So I have 2/5 times 3/4. 1/4 times a half. 2 3/4 times a half. Can you pick out any in here that the product, the answer is going to be smaller than I started with? Which pattern do these fit with? If you said these go over here, you were right. This one is also similar. These are both smaller than a whole. This is only one little part times another little part. So I'm taking a part of a part. I'm getting smaller. Part of a part. Okay? So this one, I'm taking half of this. This might be easy for us to imagine. What's half of $2 and something? It should be $1 and something, so that I end up in between these two. So I'd be writing this one over here. Oh, sorry, my dogs are barking about something. Something's going on outside. I have 3 last ones that I'm going to talk about. 4/5 times 1/3, 1 1/2 times 2/5, 3 5/6 times 5 2/7. So I'm going to ask you to put these in the correct column, and when I check video notes tomorrow, these are the 3 that I am looking for to see if you can put them into the right spots.